So another key concept I want to introduce is panopticism. So panopticism, the word panopticism comes from Jeremy Bentham's English philosopher and his design of panopticon, from Greek, all-seeing. It's a prison from the 18th century. It was a circular prison with a central tower. And so the tower will be in the middle, and there will be one guard in that tower on each floor, and they would watch every prisoner in the cells. And there would be about 92 or 90, I believe it's 92 cells all the way around. But the prisoners never knew when they were being watched. In fact, it was impossible for one person, for one prison guard, to actually watch nine odd prisoners at once. So what it created instead, it created an illusion of surveillance. And later, the philosopher Michel Foucault used this idea to explain how power works, and that's through external control. But it's done through self-surveillance. Imagine there's a illusion that you're being watched, but you're not actually being watched, so you internalize it then. So it then turns into self-surveillance. And over time, the prisoners actually don't need the guards anymore because they're watching themselves. And this is what I mean by the hidden cage inside movement. It's the wheel of oppression that feeds on itself. And even those of us that are fighting oppression can reproduce those very behaviors that come from colonial carceralism. Instead of being watched from the outside, we police ourselves and each other. That can show up in purity politics, for example. It's checking if whether we're radical enough, whether we're active enough, we're vegan enough, and also judging others harshly, but also fearing judgment ourselves. The surveillance is no longer outside, it's on the inside. And that's when shame, punishment, and exclusion, they are no longer tactics. So, essentially they're woven into the fabric of movement. So why we punish from a psychology point of view and biology point of view? So there's a research shows that we are wired to punish intentional wrongdoing. And when somebody acts aggressively towards us, for example, an activist acts aggressively towards a non-vegan during street outreach, etc., whether we did anything wrong or not, the instinct is to punish back. So it backfires because it's viewed as a wrongdoing. So the problem with punishment is that it is done to the person and not the behavior, because you cannot punish behavior. And people feel attacked, so they protect themselves through defensiveness. And there is also a biological layer to that as well, because research on aggression shows that serotonin levels play a role in regulating behaviors, with higher levels of serotonin showing reduced aggression. Also, changes in stress chemicals can push us towards more reactive, punitive responses. Whilst biology can explain the impulse, it still does not mean that it can lead to better outcomes. So, in criminology, research shows similar patterns, where punishment may act as a deterrent in the very short term, but it does not build cooperation. If anything, it actually creates resentment, and over time, punishment exaggerates the sense of wrongdoing rather than resolving it. And in activism, that means the connection is ruptured. People dissociate, they disconnect, and then they fragment. And instead, what we actually need is not shame. And we don't need punishment. We need connection, and we need empathy. So, what is the real cost of that hidden cage, which are shame and punishment and carceral empathy? So, when shame and punishment become normalized in activism, the costs are actually huge. First of all, it's fragmentation. So groups split apart, activists police each other, arguing about who's real and who's not. Next one is alienation of newcomers. Imagine being curious, you stop, you ask a question, and then you're being shamed and told that you are an animal abuser. You are a murderer. Many people walk away from that encounter feeling excluded, not invited in. Third one is burnout. Shame and punishment literally eat away at us. When activists constantly judge one another, or when anger and moral policing dominate the movement, the emotional load becomes unsustainable. So people burn out, withdraw, or leave the movement entirely. It is also called emotional attrition. That's when the constant strain of conflict and shame slowly wears people down until they no longer have the energy to keep going, leading to aggression and retaliation. And the fourth one is replication of that very oppression that we're talking about. So when we reflect similar carceral and authoritarian logics, we're trying to dismantle, and that contradiction weakens the movement. Also, it weakens the integrity as well. And finally, effectiveness. Research shows that shaming and moral condemnation rarely create lasting change. They trigger defensiveness. So, as promised, I am going to leave you with 3 practical tools today that you can use straight away. And also, if you want to find out more about the research, I can share my paper with you, or you can always attend my workshops. Like I said, they're a few hours long, so this one is just a teaser. So the first the first tool is motivation. So check your motivation. By motivation, by the way, what I mean by that, I don't mean motivation to do activism or become vegan for the environment, health, or tradition, religion, whatever that is. What I'm talking about is actually deeper drive, that the drive that gets you up and moving. So where does it come from? So again, from research point of view, shame itself can act as a motivator. It's powerful, but it's not sustainable because it is self-focused. And if I advocate from a place of my own shame, frustration, or anger, it is less about the victim. So it's short-lived. And when we end up speaking from our wounds, so becoming vegan is motivated by shame, not what it actually means. The second one is check your accountability. And this is the very interesting one. It's quite nuanced as well. It's very crucial, particularly in street activism. So when people walk past without stopping, they just go unchallenged, right? Because no one stops them, no one talks to them. But that one person who does stop to listen and engage and show curiosity, they end up being made accountable for all suffering. And that can be very overwhelming for a person. So they become scapegoated. Instead of being thanked for engaging, they get weighed down with the guilt of billions of animals and the whole food system. And also, from the behavioral point of view, they're not just excuses that they make. The phrases that we often hear, I'm just one person, I can't make a difference, or the government should do something, everyone else does it, so why me? So they're not actually excuses as we used to think. They're actually natural responses for the perceived idea of being punished for something that they didn't do or too big for them to carry. And the last one is invite empathy for the victims. So this is where we bring it back to the animals. So instead of lecturing about the morals of good and the bad and splitting, because it's not our place to teach anybody what's good and bad, because morality is subjective. However, we can invite people to accountability without shame, and we can invite people to look at exploitation through the victim's eyes. And usually that works. The last thing I want to mention before we go is before I close, I want to give you a glimpse of something that I've been working on for the past year. It's called Ethical Leadership Initiative, or ELIN, and it's rooted in this simple truth: no one can change the world unless they return to themselves first. So our movement is decentralized, it's unregulated, which is both powerful but also comes with challenges. So infighting and division feel impossible and tackle without leadership that is empathetic, healthy and supported. But at the moment, many of our leaders don't get that support either. So Ethlin will provide leaders with what they need to succeed and to care for others within the movement, including mental health support, training, mentorship, values-based guidance, even the practical skills of managing people and money. And that's me for today. But before I go, and before you start clapping, since we've been talking about sentient beings, I'd like to welcome someone very special on the stage. To date, he has done tremendous amount of work developing and popularizing the concept of sentientism as a worldview. The simple but radical idea of extending moral concern to all sentient beings. He has built communities around it, run workshops in schools and across vegan movement, and hosts the Sentientism podcast and YouTube channel. So please join me in giving the warmest welcome to Jamie Woodhouse. Thank you. Good luck.